A dissonance is a contrast, and contrast is usually good in art. You want a contrast, but in life, a dissonance means that there is a contrast that doesn't ring right with you. It doesn't feel right for some reason. A lot of people come back from the war, come back as a veteran, come back to normal citizen life, and it is a huge shock for several reasons. But one of the things that I'm going to talk about today is when you know what happened when you were at war, you know the massacres, you know the killing, you know the danger, you know the nerve. And then when you come back, people not necessarily show appreciation for what you've done. And then there is a part of the population that is living as if nothing happens. And you think to yourself, how can that be? Then there is the news and the radio, the TV, and so forth. That's another thing, and we'll deal with it in a separate video. But what I want to address right now is the dissonance that a soldier feels when he comes back from the front, waiting to be out of the battle, longing for it, waiting for the day this thing is going to be over. It comes back home, it comes back to the city or the village or whatever, and then he sees like, what is going on here? When a person goes through incredible hardship, give a check to the nation, and the amount on the check is his life. And people take that check, people take that life and do whatever the military is going to ask them to do with it. When people experience extreme situations and they come back and they see people, they could be young, they could be old. I'm not talking about children, because children should be protected from knowing these things, I think. But they see adults engaging in behavior that is very frivolous, that is centered on having fun, having pleasure, wasting time, being cool, and not really doing anything with their life except hanging out. This is the dissonance, because on the one hand, you have a person, not just one person, but hundreds of thousands of people that are putting their lives in danger, mortal danger. And on the other hand, you have hundreds of thousands of people that are like, nothing happened, we're just having fun. We are being cool. We're chilling. It's a big contrast, and it doesn't ring right. And when a soldier comes home and sees that, a feeling of anger arises. Because some soldiers, and they have written, listen, if I die, don't stop laughing, don't stop living your life, do the little things you enjoy, and so forth and so on, because I am dying so you can continue having the life that you want to have. So I understand that, but when it is frivolous, which means there is no purpose, there is no gain from doing anything, it comes as a shock, and it's jarring. It's just hurting. The question, when the soldier comes and sees that, people drinking, people shouting, people dancing, like nothing happens, what questions comes into the mind of the soldier, of the veteran? What comes to their mind is a question of justice. Is it fair that people are dying, people are getting maimed, people are losing their parents, their father or their husbands or their children, and on the other hand, people just being at the cafe, just having a good time doing nothing, just wasting, chilling. So is it fair to have this? Why this one is dying or putting their life in danger, and this other one is just like doing nothing, just chilling and having fun? There is an injustice that seems to occur over here, and they raise this question. The question is having the fun a purpose in life? Is dying for one's countrymen a purpose in life? These people who died in the war, and there's hundreds and thousands of them now that died because of the war, even if they were not soldiers, did they die so that some other people can lose themselves in a vacuum? Or did they die so that their family, their nations, their whoever will live in peace with a purpose that is true to humanity? I would like to say then, more than love, a lot of people say love is everything. More than love, we need justice. I'm not going to go back to the first chapter of Bereshit, but the world was created with the Midat Hadin, with this structure, with justice. After that came the love and the chesed and so forth, but you cannot have something stand for a long period of time without structure and without justice. At some point, if you have love and only love, it's going to disintegrate. The issue of having justice is very important for the continuation of the world and for our well-being. Justice sometimes takes the form of reparation. Sometimes it takes the form of balance, of structure, of organization. It's like a very strong image that the tzaddik will bathe in the blood of the rasha. The just will bathe his feet in the blood of the bad people. This equates to justice. And it's a strong image, but it shows that at what point we need to take into account that there needs to be a balance, there needs to be something that makes sense, and there need to be some kind of equivalence. When we have people dying, and on the other hand, in the same group, the same nation, we have people wasting their lives, it's a dissonance. It doesn't make sense, and it makes people angry. Now I explained why people get angry. I'm going to get back to it. But I want to say about the people that are having fun. What's happening with them? The first thing that we can note is ignorance. Now, I don't know if you know what a ranger is in the American Army. It's a special operation unit in infantry. It's an elite force. Just like the Navy has the SEALs, so the US Army has the Rangers, and they do special reconnaissance mission, and they are the groups where the Delta Force are recruited from after many years. So the Ranger really is trained to exhaustion. They push the limit of their minds, of their body, and they are the toughest, and they do the most difficult missions like assault, rescue of hostages, and they can deploy very fast and on any mission. Now, this guy, he's been a ranger for a while, and he goes to a family function, he's off, goes to a family function, and at home, people don't know what he does. So his grandmother, he hasn't seen his grandmother in a while, and she says to him, "So what do you do nowadays?" And he says to her, "I'm a ranger in the US Army." And she said, "I didn't know they had rangers in the army." And in her mind, a ranger is a park ranger, somebody who makes sure to close the gate, make sure that the bushes are trimmed, make sure that nobody comes in the park after the hours the park is closed. That's a park ranger in a park. So This is like unbelievable, but it happens all the time. People have no idea, literally no idea of what you've been doing. No idea. They haven't been there and they have no idea. They can watch as many videos as you want. They still have no idea what you went through and what you're doing on the front. So the first thing that I want to say is ignorance is number one situation when you have people that are not considering you. They're not taking what you're doing seriously because they have no idea of what you're doing. I once went to a Marine base and I was mingling with the wives of the Marines because Marines are very young. The wives, no idea, no idea. They never touched a gun. They don't know how to handle anything. They have no idea what their husbands or their boyfriends are doing. Literally, I was completely shocked. The truth is that once people get off on the base and they go home, they want to leave the base behind. They want to leave their training behind. They want to go home, have fun, and have a good time with their wives or whatever. So it goes both ways. One is not telling the other, but the wives also not educating themselves, and they have no idea what it means to be a Marine. They're just married to one. That's all they know. And I have to say this just to bring it a little bit to the idea that, let's say somebody has an older family member who has Alzheimer and does not recognize the other members of the family. We're not upset with that person because they don't know. Their mind doesn't work. When you see young people that are not appreciating what you went through, you have to know that they do not know. They have no idea. That ignorance is really one of the reasons. Another thing that is going to help, because that anger you see when you're ready to kill, you're ready to kill another human being and you're ready to be killed and they are wasting their time chilling, it just doesn't make you feel good. You get angry. As I said, it feels it's not fair. Another thing that we have to understand is that these people that you see, they're having fun, they're laughing, they look happy, they look without any worry in the world. You really don't know what goes on with them. Maybe they have somebody in their family who is very sick, or somebody who just died, or maybe they've been abused. Maybe they grew up with parents that were drug addicts. Maybe they've been sexually abused for years by a family member. We just don't know. And so when we see something, we see it from outside and we say, oh, this is very fun, they're having fun, but we don't know what's inside of them, that they're trying to escape with having fun. In other words, you judge people favorably, but the truth is that we don't know what's behind the laughter and the lightheadedness of these people. It could be much somber. It could be very sad. It could be there is a picture they're trying to escape, and maybe they're trying to pretend for a while that life is not a serious matter and that they can waste it and that they can drink it. So I want to add something about these empty things that you see people doing while others are dying for them. I don't know how many of you remember Uri Zohar. He was one of the biggest celebrity in Israel in his days. And he was a singer, he was an actor, he went around on tours, joking, having fun. He was famous for his antics, for his things that jokes and on people and things like that. And it's known that a lot of people that are comedian, they're inside, they're very, very deep. And he was looking for answers. And at some point, he turned his life around. And from being the celebrity on the stage and on the screen, he became he became a man who moved from his big, huge house in Tel Aviv, overseeing the water. He moved to a little apartment and he started learning Torah, and he changed his whole life. And people got very, very upset with him. But that's not the point. He said to himself, look, I changed my life, but I'm not sure that I'm not going to regret it. This is so different than what I used to do. It cannot be that I was doing that for so long and I enjoyed it, and now this is not for me anymore. So I think maybe I made a mistake, and maybe I should go back to it and at least try it out again and see if I'm not feeling bad about leaving it. So he told his friend, listen, make me a big party in Tel Aviv, I'm going to come. And he hadn't been around for a long time. But his friend came and all his old buddies came. It was a huge party. He wanted to test it. So he came to the party. All the chevra was there, and he said, okay, what were they doing at the party? There's drinking, smoking, laughing, promiscuity, talking about politics. And he had come to Tel Aviv, especially for the party, because by then he was living in Jerusalem. Even though he thought maybe I'll miss it, after a moment at the party, he just couldn't stand it anymore. And he left. He left with no regrets. And he knew this life is not for him anymore. It's too empty. There's no meaning to it. He didn't find any satisfaction from being there. And it was all something that you do to impress other people. It was just the glamour did not appeal to him anymore, and the useless fun did not appeal to him anymore. So he came to the party, he heard everyone, and he felt like a stranger. After a short while he left, he tested it, and now he knew for sure that he didn't make a mistake leaving that environment, that empty life of glamour. Because you should know, I live in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and the people that use the psychiatrist and the psychologist the most are the people in the entertainment business. Why do I say this story? Because sometimes for Uri Zohar, it was very gradual. He just changed his life very gradually. But for most people, we don't have that strength of character of giving up on something we've built, that we've enjoyed, and now we're saying, okay, it's no good, I'm leaving, I'm doing something else. Most people don't do that. But most people in their lives, it happens a few times. They have a realization, an awareness, and it hits the person very strongly, and it changes the whole outlook on life, on the meaning of life. It makes you ask questions that you've ignored for decades. The question are existentialist question. Why am I alive? Some did not come back. Why me? What is it that matters? Why is futile? And what is very grounded? Experience at war does that to people. Because you see life and death, you cannot ignore the big questions about life, about existence. And there is no rugs or carpet that you can put it under and forget about it. The questions are there pounding in your mind. And asking this question demand answers. The questions smack you in the face even if you close your eyes. Especially if you close your eyes and start to think, then yes, these questions are going to come very strong. What is the meaning of all this? You ask yourself, and you look inward. You know you're fighting a good fight. You don't have any doubts about this, because if you have, then it's another situation. It's the biggest problem. In this war, it looks like people do not have doubt so much about why they're fighting. What about your vulnerability? Your freedom to be who you want to be. You have questions. You see yourself facing life, facing death all the time. You see the loneliness of human existence facing a universe that is infinite. And you see the mortality, your own mortality, everybody else's, at every corner, in the dark depth of humid tunnels, or in the muddy roads, or on an airplane. The nothingness of life is shocking. On the battlefield, one need to pay attention. On the battlefield, it's the time for action. It's not the time for thinking and philosophizing. But as soon as you have a moment, the question comes back and demands an answer. The comfort in war is in the unity of the group. It's in the knowledge that my partner will die and to protect me, and I will do the same for him. That brotherhood that people experience in their unit, it's something that is very difficult to find in civilian life. And so people miss it a lot, and people have questions. We'll talk about it a little bit more later. People who see other people wasting their life have a hard time bringing together the futility of an empty life with the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice that they're making. Right now, we have 2 points. First of all, people have no idea what you went through. People are ignorant, very ignorant. That was number one. Number two is the fact that you don't know what happened to these people. They look happy, but you don't know what happened to them. And you don't know what's going on with them.